And we are back to the 2018 Backers Pro Gaming Series Spring Split. Now on to Game 3 Atlas of our second match.
Of course, coming from that second game, of course, we'll be your shoutcasters for the third game. I'm Atlas. With me is Vulcan.
Looks like you're a bit phased from our second game to the first game, Atlas.
Yeah, because these two games that we've had so far are very interesting, very impressive at both ends. And since this is the last game for this match as well, and for today, it's going to be, it's like spirits are high, the tension is also like up there, and it's really up to for both of these teams. They really have to break their back and get this last victory, because it's actually really important. As we said earlier in this match, this is battle for second place, and second place essentially gives you so much breathing room for the playoffs. Of course, so far it's 1-1.
Yeah, technically, if you put it that way, the second place and first seed, it's a matter of really just waiting, as you said, Atlas, in the semifinals, just breathing, preparing yourself, and not yet, you know, just showing your cards just yet. But for MSK, I just love what they did in Game 2. Wrap it up, clean it up, and destroy any hope from IPT.
That was so decisive. Especially, I love how aggressive they went. Once they knew that they were in the lead, Gary and the others just jumped in, shot people down, and then just reset over and over again for those kills. And really, even though the standings imply that both of these teams have been neck and neck, it's actually been MSK that's been the driving force, the driver's seat in these two games, in these two previous games. In the beginning, in the first game, MSK was the one who was leading, and then IPT turned it around at the last moment. And then the second game, MSK just absolutely crushed them. So right now, it seems like MSK is the leading force, and IPT needs to be the one to overcome it or make it crash into something that's too hard and too heavy for them to actually smash. So it's going to be very difficult.
But for Imperium Pro Team, they're relying too much on their airbags, perhaps, because they're waiting for MSK to go for that crash, and that's the time they're going to pop off. Because seeing how Imperium Pro Team played in our first game, it was a matter of fact for them to really stick to their, let's say, determined on-face resolve, because we saw how much of a comeback that was.
Like
but what can you change about that? Shut them early, wrap up the game 2, no more chances of a comeback.
Yeah, and like what Chisto said earlier, they have to be proactive. They can't just wait for MSK to make a mistake. You have to force MSK's hand so that they make a mistake. The greatest example for this match is exactly what won them the game in the first game. They started the Elder, which forced MSK to go to them, and that's when they faltered. So instead of waiting for MSK to fumble, they have to set the conditions in which MSK has to fumble, while MSK has to be very careful each step that they take, because so far they've been the ones who are leading the pace of the game. They're the ones who are dictating the pace of the game. They just have to be mindful not to trip and fall.
Because when we see when the game 1 panned out for MSK, there was a small, really small pebble, and they just tripped. What happened there? That small trip gave Imperium Pro Team that first win. But now, for MSK, they're just checking the grounds very slowly. Is there a small pebble? They're trying to just pick up the pebbles one by one and make sure everything is calculated.
Sweep it away.
Make it a smooth surface.
And just and the experience of both of these teams, I can't stress this enough. These are two of the greatest teams we have in the PGS.
I would say
One of the oldest rivalries in the PGS. Whether the players are changed, the rosters change, it's always going to be that dynamic between these two. And the innovations, like the innovation coming from MSK to bring in these imports, foreign talent, and for IPT to just stick with it and have like a diverse pool of talents, a very good infrastructure in terms of like having that sister team to scrim and train with. So it's really impressive on both ends.
Especially the fact that MSK, the fact that they're bringing in 2 imports to our 2018 PGS, it's kind of a really of a treat for all the players here, because as Light said in his interview, this is more of a challenge for Imperium Pro Team, and they welcome that challenge. Let's see. Moving on to Game 3, guys. This is going to be MSK on the blue side versus Imperium Pro Team on the red side.
The bands are still very similar as to what's happening all around here. Jace, Camille, and now Malzahar band away. As for IPT, since MSK is now on blue side, they don't want to deal with the threat that Light could get countered by the Zoe or the Azir, as well as taking away Jun's, Kha'Zix, and the Sejuani. High priority pick. IPT Hate takes away his Callista, just really picking up really powerful picks here. IPT, Ivalice gets the Shyvana to just have a lot of damage, but it's like Mineski, they'll be picking up the Gangplank.
One by one here, we're seeing Mineski, we get this. Yeah, Imperial Protein says we get that. It's a battle of picks here.
Yeah, it's so fast here. Mineski, Exozen gets the Talia, so that's a lot of map pressure that will be really appreciated by by whatever picks they have, especially the Gangplank. As for IPT, Gnar, very consistent, could actually bully out that Gangplank. For the second set of our bans, we have a lot of pressure on our supports here, taking away a lot of their tanky options in their pools, as well as taking out Gary's Varus. Of course, he still has that Ezreal, still has the other hyper carries open up there.
And for Mineski, they are still picking up this Sejuani. It worked in the game too. Put Jun on a jungler that can pressure the lanes. It works so well, especially shutting down Suzaku in the top lane. But for Imperial Pro Team, look at this. Picking up the Janna to disengage the fight if ever Mineski tries to collapse. But it's up to timing, it's up to the skill, because for Jun, he can just lock you down, possibly lock down the Janna, prevent the monsoon from even happening.
Yeah, so there's a lot of disengaged tools and protection for IPT. They have the shields and the healing from the Janna. They have that hero's entrance coming in from light, and there's so much engaged as well that's very reliable. As for Mineski, of course, Jun being on that early game pressure jungler Sejuani is great for them. It really helps out the laning of Kaigu, and in conjunction with Exosen can really pressure out the lanes at Gary and TG. And since all of the other tank supports have been taken away, Shen gets picked up, and it's still a very potent pick. And there's so much map pressure around here. The Stand United, yeah.
We're seeing the Talia's Weaver's Wall, the Cannon Barrage, and the Stand United. But let's look at Imperial Pro Team side, because to counter that Global Ultimate, we have the Janna, the Galio, to force that quick response. But you know what I love about Imperial Pro Team's draft? Because picking up this Shyvana, you're going to know that Ivalice will farm in the jungle. So pick up laners who are self-sufficient. Look at that Callista pick. I mean, that Gnar pick also. They know that they can fend for themselves, but now Kaigu will be using the Gangplank.
So Mineski needs to put a little bit of attention there, because Gangplank can get bullied by that Gnar if Kaigu is not careful. But I really like picking up the Galio as well, because if you're Shyvana, you can't focus as much on ganking. But if you have that Galio, you have that like backup support, and in the case that someone's having a hard time in the side lane,
of course,
Light can just go there, get the hero's entrance, could possibly turn around an entire fight that could have been losing because Ivalice is not there. That leaves Ivalice with so much free time and breathing room to just farm at his own pace.
This is a very tense match, Atlas, because we're seeing now onto our third game of our match 2. This will shape the standings. Despite for the second seed spot, we'll see everything unfold. This is the last game, the last match of the 4th week onto the second day. Mineski on the blue side versus Imperial Pro Team on the red side. Battle for second spot here, guys. This is, again, Imperial Pro Team. From the success of Game 1 and from Mineski, adaptation from Game 2, will push this to the third game. Who will take it away? We'll see it right now.
Both of these teams neck and neck right now in points and standings. And this is really one of the most important games in the weeks we've had.
It's dire. It's more than important. You need to get this point because we only have 3 weeks left in our group stages. No more time for warm-ups here.
Definitely. Just having all of these powerful teams clash together, it culminates in one of these weeks here. It's actually so impressive how the performances of the teams have been.
Give it your all and show at this point that when it comes to the new format in the PGS, it's very competitive.
Seems like just regular lines of scrimmage for both for teams. TG and Gary advancing a little bit. They are under a ward.
TG gets the free hit.
A little bit of a cheeky trade up here. Not that impactful. They should regenerate that as time goes.
You know what I love about Imperial Pro Team Atlas? Because we're seeing this Shyvana and a Callista. That itself signals that, you know, Ivalice will just look at the bot lane, give me all the Drakes. I want that bonus damage. I want those stats.
Definitely. Infernal Drake is actually one of the squishiest Drakes, so that will be very, very fast clearing if Hate and Ivalice get their hands on that Infernal.
I mean, who knows? We might see a very early Drake Atlas because that's a Callista we're talking about. Level 3 Callista with a red. Why not go for a very early Infernal?
Possibly.
And look at that.
Gets bullied out. He does have a few potions in his pocket that he can use. So just needs to use that until he gets enough XP to get at least level 2 or 3.
Taunt will connect onto Hate, trying to back away, so it will be just trade-offs here. But Hate, not backing out just yet, just trying to get some hits onto TG.
Does have that ran to just really finish off that little trade right there. In the end, actually, IPT gets a little bit ahead in this bot lane health.
And Hate's on this little tempo, so he has the early game. I mean, Callista itself is a very strong level 1 champion.
So just needs, and it really is favorable for Hate to go for those really longer trades, like have these short skirmishes in the bot side to make full use of the lethal tempo. Well, Gary definitely just wants to poke around, have that gold stack up on him so he can get to his power spikes much earlier.
And that's what we have to look out for Kaigo's game plan. Instead, he will be starting the Corrupting Potion compared to Suzaku. In Game 2, he used the Relic Shield Star for a more, let's say, stable income. But for this third game, you do not want to risk anything much. And this is going to be, again, Jude intervening in the lanes here. Get that early pressure.
Instead of going for the steady income, goes and buys a refilling drink. Good investment here coming from Kaigo. Let's see how it fares out. But for now, it seems like Light is still having a little bit of trouble. Really, CSing has to be pushed down to his own turret to get full use of the wave.
Looks like we're seeing a mirror here. June in the blue side for Imperial Pro Team. They will go for a successful steal.
They will steal each other's blue buffs. They do have full knowledge of what the other is doing right there. Seems like so far just a very quiet first 4 minutes. These two junglers, actually Ivalice is completely fine with this, but Jun is still looking for that opportunity.
But now the Infernal Drake is up. It's the Infernal Drake. This is something that's sought after for both teams. And note that we're seeing a Shyvana and a Callista. I'm excited to see, will Imperial Pro Team go for a very early Drake? Maybe not, because once the level 6 does happen, Kaigo with that Cannon Barrage, and not to mention the Stand United onto Shen when he's level 6, the response, that's something that you have to take account for.
As for the early Drake, however, first, it needs to be that IPT has bottom lane priority. If they're being pushed in by Gary and TG, then they can't actually go for the early Drake. So they need to actually get a little bit ahead in pressuring this bot lane in order to actually get that important Infernal Drake objective. But for now, it seems like they will be satisfied just laning it out here, as well as Light. Now that he has a few levels on his belt, he can try and get a little bit more CS to try and match EXO.
And for Light, he will be the one to be the quick response for his
Man, that's
team.
a lot of burst.
Oh god, electrocute. And meanwhile, the bot lane, first blood at stake. The Aftershock will finish it off.
Actually does take down Hate there. That is actually quite deadly, because there's so much damage that can come if Gary hits all of his mystic shots. TG as well, no slouch in damage with his blade, as well as being able to taunt. That actually is quite scary, especially with a Ignite.
And not just that, the Spirit's Refuge itself can deny so much damage from that Callista.
So all that led to the first blood going to Mineski.
For the TG though, that's okay. It's still manageable, but
oh man, Ivalice
gotta go fast, gotta get out of there.
Has the blast cone, luckily for him.
Luck's on his side. If there was no blast cone, he would have forced out. Okay, he already forced out his flash early, so Luck's on his side. Lady Luck is smiling onto Ivalice's side. There was the blast cone for the save.
But that is just Mineski. They have enough awareness of the map. So Ivalice almost got caught out there, and a few pings come from Mineski onto around the Drake pit. They want to take control of that. They want to make sure that Ivalice cannot take away that objective after Mineski has to back away and recover after taking the kill bot side.
Look at that. June takes away majority of his Raptors and will not let it respawn. So when you're looking at the CS right now, Ivalice and June, I guess for June, he knows how the Shyvana works. We saw that in game 1. He's very familiar with how it's supposed to be done. So knowing this knowledge, what does he do? Invade, invade, invade. Deny that gold.
And he does have that free time. While he doesn't have a lot of gank potential right now, Light's going for it.
Coming in, will connect with the flash, and with Ivalice taking down EXO.
That is just a drive-by there, and that's like a small-scale version of what IPT needs to do when Mineski is leading. They have to put them in a position where there's no other choice but to make a mistake. And there, he runs down into that side of the lane and gets decimated by Shyvana.
And this is a good start for both teams. Now, the question is, can we now expect, let's say, a level 6 fight? Because we're seeing right now, 4 in the mid lane. Light is level 6. So is Ivalice in this Nord because the teleport is available. And so far, Ivalice thinks right now, Atlas, I gotta say, it's gonna get interesting.
All of these teleports, teleport is up for Suzaku. Ivalice could possibly have a Dragon's Descent, but what's really scary here is both the Weaver's Wall and the Hero's Entrance for both of our mid laners. Such high map pressure that's possible for them. And any 2v2 could possibly be a 3v3 at any given moment.
And also the Fate's Call is not yet available. And again, team fight tools, guys. We're talking about these tools on the IPT side, Mineski's side. Oh, Monsoon. Stan United. This is a really interesting game 3.
It's like a little bit of a parallel in what these laners can do. A little bit of similarities in the mid lane and the bot lane for this one. But so far, it seems like the flow of the game is a little bit slowed down. They don't want to risk anything too much until a perfect opportunity comes, or once they finish setting up that perfect opportunity.
I mean, at this point, with the bot lane, when the first Drake itself is the Infernal, why risk it? Because who knows, at this very moment in the game 3, maybe the next Drake again might be another Infernal. So for Imperium Pro Team and Mineski, they don't want to risk anything too risky.
Because if it's like a game 3, where any bit of like a small detail could change everything. Something like Infernal could sneak up on them. Like the extra damage on it could sneak up on them in the later fights. It could cost them, of course. These teams in the pro scene usually would prefer something like Mountain Drake, but for this one, Infernal's still an important objective.
I think Infernal is the way to go here because we see. Let's look at the comps here. You can guys see it already. I mean, Kalista with Infernal, EXO, Natalia. At this point, both teams want that Infernal. And right now, Mineski, again, will they get another successful steal? Yes, they do.
Like
denying that blue buff.
Yeah, it really just forces Ivalice to go to the other side of the map. Actually, every time that they trade blue, without Light getting that blue buff, it's EXO that gets the small win there.
And we're seeing that in the CS Atlas. Look at that.
Like,
80 to 69.
Seems like that will be the CS differential. It's not overwhelmingly big, but it does. But it's something natural for it's something natural for a matchup where you have Talia versus anyone melee like Galio. It's really not that disastrous for IPT. It's the par for this kind of matchup.
And with the blue buff in the hands of EXO, he will have the luxury to just shove that lane without a care in mana, and Light just has to tank all those hits. And right now in the bot lane, I just want to see, can we maybe see a clash here? Because
it's actually very difficult. It's difficult because Light doesn't have his blue buff, right? So he keeps getting pushed in by EXO.
Aha! Here it comes. I see you in the entrance.
This is a 2v3.
Remember, Dragon's Descent and the entrance. Will it connect for the knockup? No, they're too fast. Flash in, and June gets decimated by Ivalice.
Twin bites, takes him out, and Ivalice gets another kill. Not only is he so ahead because of how fast he can clear these camps. He got 2 kills off of that. And he's just slowly, well, not slowly, he's rapidly getting to a point where he's scary. Oh, flash taunt.
Oh, and the Spirit's Refuge will deny the damage, plus the Monsoon for that heal. Hade is on stage, it buys him time. He makes it under the turret and will buy time for Light to channel. And that teleport, TG Stand United, will not happen here. And now Light is looking on to TG. Fate's Call misses. Right now, EXO is down for the count. And what's Ivalice doing, guys? Going for the Infernal.
Yeah, just immediately transitions to that. Once they realize that it's over in bot side, that fight is done, let's go transition to the Infernal Drake.
Take that, Drake.
Yeah, and that was very nice come from IPT. They survived so long that there's enough time for the rest of IPT to follow up.
There's the kite, there's the burst, and the slow.
I don't think he can actually finish this off.
Okay, he has scurvy.
Just be able to eat that orange, very healthy. But it seems like, yeah, he goes for the flash taunt, and for any other lane, this could possibly be the end of it. But look, the wall is just short, so Hate is still able to go over. And look, all that stopwatch time, all of that Monsoon time gives him enough leeway for Light to go in and Justice Punch EXO out of the sky. So all of this actually gives them just enough time, and this is really the core of how the laning phase goes for IPT.
And the next Drake is Mountain, and going to that mount, the bot lane side clash. I gotta say, when the level 6 did happen, it's to our expectations because it's really impactful. I mean, excited. Look at that Monsoon, Stand United, and Hero's entrance.
Yeah, all of those 2 globals actually. The Weaver's Wall as well was pretty important in that.
But a bit too short.
But a bit too short. It didn't actually block off Hate, and EXO didn't actually impact that fight too much after. Look at that aggression.
Sent in. Pops that challenging smite, but won't commit any much. Because right now at this point, Ivalice, he's done farming. He wants some blood.
Yeah, now he wants some blood. He has 90 CS. He has 2 kills on his belt. Now's definitely the time for him to just start roaming around and get those kills. Actually, looking at Shyvana's animations when she's in Dragon form, she looks kind of goofy when she's walking with high movement speed in Dragon form. It's like
so far for this Shyvana, Ivalice does have 2 kills, gets a lot of gold lead. Look at that, 65 to 99, make that 100. But the fact that he has 2 kills,
1,200. That's essentially around a Giant Spelter of BF Sword's worth of gold in his side, and that's pretty much him translating that into a Jorum's Fist, which is very important in the build path towards the items that he needs.
Frozen Mallet, that's the thing you gotta go for. So that for Gary and TG, and the fact that EXO, he has some escape tools with the Talia, but you want that slow. That slow itself is so powerful because
it sets up everything else for him.
Everything. The W is for that speed boost, and you're not getting anywhere.
It's just going to be very scary here for MSK. But of course, the gold lead is actually still in their favor just a little bit. But in the end, what's important, Light could possibly be in trouble.
Flashes in for the 2-man taunt. Catamarach comes in, plus the prison to try and stop it. No, we will take down EXO.
Seems like teleport gets cancelled from Suzaku.
This is a different style we're seeing right now at Atlas. For IPT, in Game 1, they were enduring. In Game 2, same plan. Maybe they thought they could have the same success in Game 1. But right now in Game 3, a complete shift.
It's really the shift and dynamics for this game. Because
what you expect from a pro team. A
lot of adaptations. And IPT now, they're doing so much proactive work. And Mineski is fumbling. Just gonna dive in right there.
Inside the turret. They don't care. They just see the 300 gold.
And Stand United is not fast enough for that one.
Oh god, meanwhile the top side. Little Temple's here. Takes down Gary. Permafrost will knock down Sha, looks like. Mineski will get that double kill in the top side. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, trying to get away. Ivalice flashes in for that taunt. No,
Mineski just fights back. Mineski fights back indeed, just turning it around. Instead of getting nothing from that, Mineski makes a play topside. They could possibly get a turret out of this. This is going to be the second turret and could give them a bigger lead on top of IPT because they got like 2 kills while IPT only got that one in the bot side, and they weren't even able to take away that other turret in the bot side. So far, Mineski, even though it seems like IPT is leading the charge here and getting the momentum. MSK, under their noses, is taking so many chances, and they're actually paying off.
Look at that, 2 turrets and now potentially the Rift Herald. Imperium Pro Team has 0 turrets, but secured the first Drake of the game, the Infernal. The next Drake is Mountain, guys. It will spawn in 1 minute and 20 seconds. Let's watch and
So
let's see.
Yeah, that's
how
probably going to be where the
Team-
next big fight happens. As for MSK, they have pretty decent kills all around. EXO has kills, and then Gary has 2. So that means that their distribution of stats and gold is much wider than IPT, where most of their gold is stacked on top of Ivalice. So if Ivalice, they're able to dodge or play around him instead of being crashed down upon by the dragon, they can actually easily win these fights.
I mean, we saw the damage by Carry on this Ezreal. Going straight for the Manamune with the Frozen Gauntlet.
That is going to be a lot of blue in his inventory right there, but that means he has a lot of sustain with the Vamp Scepter, and then he's a lot of on-hit damage as well. So he can just poke around and possibly whittle down IPT before, and which will deter Ivalice from jumping on them.
And right now, closing into the 17-minute mark, kill score. 45 gold lead Atlas. We don't see that much. Just a 2K on the side of MSK.
And that is probably going to be around 400 gold. Just a little bit of a stat boost on the side of MSK over IPT. But IPT does have that Infernal Drake, so it kind of evens out in the end in terms of just combat stats. But in terms of control over the map,
what's this?
Ooh, that's a lot of damage on TG.
Here it
He's
comes.
jumping over.
Mega Gnar in. Oh, mid-air he gets Permafrost. The Hero's Andress is coming in, but no one gets knocked up to the air. Light's trying to make some room with his taunt, but it's going to be Suzaku at an awkward spot. Pushes them away with a 3-man Gnar, but cannot escape. EXO takes down Suzaku and potentially TG will clean up the fight.
Oh man, that Permafrost in mid-air stops the second jump from
feels
the
bad.
Gnar jump. And that's where the entire fight goes in MSK's favor. After IPT starts trying to force that into working, they turn the momentum around, and now MSK has the lead. 3,000 now is not a small lead, especially if you have a Drake like this, where you can start pushing.
That mid-air Permafrost to deny the timing, and the fact that that bought enough time for MSK to just escape from the hero's entrance. Right now, Atlas, I can see the Rift Herald just demolishing the mid lane.
And this is one of the same ways MSK was really taking charge of how the game went in Game 1. They start demolishing outer turrets one by one, and then they control the map on that point, from that point. So this is a repeat of what's happening in terms of how MSK is pushing their lead. They're applying their control and dominance all over the map around the outer turrets that are now destroyed, and they're going to start pushing upon one of the territories of IPT.
But now we're seeing the Imperium Pro Team, they have this composition, they have the Callista. In the late game, that's going to be a huge threat towards MSK's side, but we're seeing who else to depend on the split pushing than a Gangplank. Kaigo is going to do what he loves best. I mean, we see it in the previous 3 weeks with his Gangplank. He will just pressure the lanes at this point.
Yeah, I do think that Kaigo is one of the scariest Gangplanks to face in the PGS. And really, it will show. Right now, he doesn't have a lot of kills, a lot of gold, but he's been racking up a lot of gold from the Kleptomancy and just straight up from the parlay.
I mean, the Silver Serpents, the Kleptomancy, that's a lot of income.
There's a lot of free, different currencies too. So, Gangplank's an international. What?
Paano kayo yung exchange rate ng Silver Serpents? So unless the Bilgewater has an economic crisis, it's going to be Kaigo really racking up those gold
and getting his power spikes, getting the Sterax
but what's this?
for a lot of survivability.
Hates alone. See some opportunity.
EXO could
just do it.
Away.
Oh, there is the Sentinel.
He actually spots him out.
Spots him out. So that's going to be EXO not getting the surprise jump onto Hate.
And they have to be careful as well, because even though that was a perfect position for Hate to be taken down, MSK doesn't have enough information at the backside of that lane. Oh dear.
You're invading the wrong time, but hello here. That's going to be the Ice Age onto Ivalice, chasing him down with the Dragon's form. Will just fling them away.
Man, that's a lot of ults burned by IPT in
that's
the span of like 10
resources.
seconds. Yeah, that is going to be a small window for MSK to try and get something from IPT, because that's 3 ultimates. That's the Monsoon, Dragon's Descent, as well as the Hero's Entrance, all burned that top side for random reasons.
Random reasons. Maybe they were trying their best to not give a lead.
And they were really trying to defend the top side and control their
Flashes
territory. Wow, Ivolis is
pumps
aggressive.
that slow onto his back here. Garena Mirage will not let them succeed in their chase, but respect that damage coming from that Talia.
If that hit Shadow, would have been a bad time for IPT.
Feeling bad because they invested so much in the top lane.
Could be a Baron attempt come from MSK here, because that did that did put Shadow and Ivolis pretty low, but it seems like they won't want to risk it just yet. A little bit too risky for their taste.
Oh, they're going to risk it, Atlas. We saw in Game 2 how it was, MSK. They know they can just bait in IPT. They know their conditions. They know their chances.
But right now is not really the time for them to do so. But yeah, Baron giveth, Baron taketh away, and that's really a lot of the determining factors of MSK's games is how they play around Baron.
Yes,
and it was successful last game.
Actually, yeah, because when you're talking about Baron, he has no sides, but as of now, you still want to go for the Baron, knowing that you have the upper hand. But look at the kill score and the gold; it's not that of a huge difference. Just that we are nearing our, let's say, somehow of a 3K gold lead, because for MSK, they have the Gangplank, they have the Cannon Barrage. That slow zone itself is just going to hinder the movements of IPT.
Could prevent an entire escape route that IPT wants to take if they want to disengage.
Could actually zone them out if they want to.
So really, right now, IPT, their power really centers around Ivolis right now. If he can get to a good target, like if EXO gets caught, if Kaiku is actually caught without his barrels, without his movement speed, then possibly Ivolis could get a few hits here and there and get a lot of damage onto MSK while the rest of IPT follows up. But for MSK, this is a pretty good and balanced team composition. They have good damage dealing, they have good CC. That is just very good all around.
I mean, when you're talking about, let's say, yes, Ivolis has to be the one to deal the damage, but can he survive to deal that damage? Because we're just seeing offensive itemization, not much defensive. Probably he might want to pick up, let's say, on this Talia, could it be the adaptive helmet he wants here?
Possibly. And
here
comes Ivolis.
Has away. He's not getting away. There's the Hero's Entrance. Pop stasis to buy time. Monsoon a bit too far from Ivolis. What a waste of that heal. Looks like MSK has won this fight and now pushing back Imperial Pro Team.
That hurts.
Oh, Gary takes down Hayes. And now it's going to channel through our mid lane. Perhaps we're seeing that in the side of Imperial Pro Team. They have lost 2 members.
Man, that part of the map, at the top side behind Baron, behind the red buff, that's where IPT's been faltering, and when they're on red side for this match. And it seems like now this gives MSK pretty much a free Baron here without the presence of Ivolis. There's really no chance for a steal. Oh, Shadow.
Shadow!
You don't want to be there.
The ward was right there. They know he was going his pathing, trying to, ward the area to see if maybe MSK, it's not yet starting the Baron, or maybe can we contest it? No, because Ivolis is just fresh from the fountain.
So right there, seems like MSK has the Baron. They have a lot of ways that they can use it. Their composition pretty much allows them to do this. Kaigo can just split push for days, lots of wave clear, and if anyone tries to go for him, he has enough damage at this point to actually duel them. EXO can also split push and can just go to the mid lane if ever he's under attack or if they need his help. So this and even the Stand United could be used somewhere.
I think it's the fact that we're seeing Imperial Pro Team, they have the tools, they have the global ultimates, but the timing, the positioning is kind of off here. And for MSK, they see the mistake, they're capitalizing on it, they have the Baron buff right now. So we'll just mow down the other lanes. We're seeing Kaigo on this Gangplank possibly can pressure the bot lane more.
There's a lot of pressure indeed, and they have to be very careful in how they deal with this. They have to really defend this against MSK. IPT does not want MSK getting any more turret gold.
Obviously, because when a kill score is 8-5, but the gold lead is now moving on to, let's say, the 5K mark, near the 6K. that's something alarming for Imperial Pro Team. And right now for Mineski, they just might, let's take the free objectives. Let's take the Drakes. Let's stack it up. When the Elder comes, we'll have all the stacks we need.
And so far, IPT, now that they're like behind, and now that Mineski's power spikes have arrived for most of their builds, they can't really do any proactive moves just yet. They're still looking for that opportunity. They're still waiting. They're still building up the conditions in which they can go for a play. But they have to make a decision fast on how they want to do it. Because closing in, Mineski's closing in, they're making good use of their Baron buff.
And they're just pressuring the mid lane right now. Slowly. Let the Baron buff minions do the work here.
Because so far, it seems like they haven't been able to capitalize on the lead that Ivalice has. Because like earlier, the fight that gave Mineski a few kills, that was when Ivalice died first.
Sayang. He did not connect to Kaigo. So there's the Weaver's Wall just to cut them off. They won't try and clear the waves here. We're seeing the Storm Shield being used. The shield turret, they're trying to buy some time. But no ultimate onto...
There's a lot of damage onto Gary right there.
No ultimate onto Suzaku. He used it in the bot lane.
So this does signal Mineski to be confident in this mid lane, because who else? How else can they engage here?
Go for a flag.
Than going for the Dragon's Ascent.
With a 4-man Dragon Ascent. Heroes Enders follows it off with a 2-man knockup here. Light a bit too far in, trying to back off Kaigo, coming in for the flag. Light is forced to flash away.
Yeah, way too forward there, but who can really blame them? IPT needed to back off and heal a little bit, and Light possibly could have pressured more if the rest of IPT was near, but really the Monsoon, they needed that Monsoon heal. And here Mineski gets what they want. They get the inhibitor turret, and they're just going to regroup, spend their gold, and then come back with a vengeance.
So close call for Imperial Pro Team, because if ever Light did not have that flash, he would have been taken down, and that could have been a signal for Mineski to, let's go. It's
just go barreling in.
Let's go just smash down in. And at this point, they have the Baron buff. So Imperial Pro Team, they have to be careful.
And IPT, I mean, Mineski, earlier we were just talking about a 3K, 4K gold lead. This is slowly growing into more than 10K.
Really? Look at that, 52K to 42K. That's a 10K gold lead for Mineski. So they have the advantage. They have the lead. But it's in the near the 28-minute mark. I think they can stall, but it's a gangplank. I don't think Imperial Pro Team has any type of wave clear. Just remove the Galio and the Callista. Not that of an effective wave clear. Yeah,
not a lot of ways they can deal with huge waves crashing down on them. And the fact that Ivalice's kills have plateaued, like earlier it was getting like 2-3 kills like in a short amount of time. Now it's pretty much plateaued, because now Mineski they're starting to group up. They're starting to have that configuration of split pushing as well, that it's much harder for Ivalice to just dive in, because no one's really isolated for a gank. Now they just have to be very careful.
But they have to deal with it. They have to think of a plan here, because Kaigo's just having his own fun in the bot lane. And
it's really centering on Suzaku's timing with his Rage Bar, with his ultimate, as well as Light possibly following it up.
And for Hate to position himself properly, but that said, Juani can just ruin everything. The position himself, the prison is there for the lockdown. And at least for Hate, he picked up the QSS. Some of a remedy for that lockdown. So maybe Jun can go on to, let's say, the Jana or maybe Suzaku. Remember that airborne permafrost.
Yeah, that's very potent.
Just to
indeed.
zone
Look
them
at that,
out.
Weaver's Wall. Now that they don't really need it too much, because Exo's joining the 4-man push, they're just blocking away any sort of defense from IPT, and they're getting what they want without even fighting. That is the art of war.
The art of war, yes. For Mineski, they're just slowly, pushing out the lanes, but surely, take down the inhibitor. Just go for, let's say, the turrets or the inhibitors, because at this point, they don't need to commit to a team fight. They have the lead, so why should we do that? Because we can just win this game by just pushing it slowly and then let the minions do all the work while we sit back and take away the Baron and possibly maybe the Infernal.
They have the Weaver's Wall. They have all of these tools to just deny a fight, and they just need to really calm down, and that's what they've been doing.
They have everything right now on their side. But remember, this is a flashback to game 1. They have everything in the first game, and they lost everything just by a small pebble on the road.
But the fact is, that time, IPT's composition was built to scale to late game. They had so many of these champions that dealt so much damage in the late game, but here IPT doesn't have that same configuration. They don't have like 4 hyper carries leading them the way at 40 minutes into the game. But
yeah, I gotta say,
they have to be careful.
Yeah, because when you're looking at the composition, the Gnar is there, but at least, I mean, isn't the Shyvana something to look out for?
It is definitely.
And
but so far,
Kalista
as well as the Kalista. But so far, MSK has been doing a great job in terms of just denying this. Oh man, Suzaku's in a little bit of trouble here.
And the little guy escape here. He's mad.
He's going big.
Big, and can he go home with a 2-man stun? Locks down Geigo, but the barrage is there! Close call.
Was inevitable.
Saya.
This does give MSK with a lot of free time, a lot of leeway in this mid lane. Baron is up, and Infernal Drake is up, but they want this inhibitor before going for anything else.
But you did see that play, what Suzuki was trying to do at least. But for MSK, they know the mobility of the Gnar, they respect that, and they will not take any more chances. Right now, MSK mowing on the mid lane.
Oh man, just look at that. Weaver's Wall ensures that turret goes down, and since there's no more turret to defend them, IPT has to back off. They're just winning without fighting at this point.
Sex way to the bot lane. Yes, they're because like I said, why should we commit to a team fight? We have all the leads this game so far. The prison has been used, no lockdown yet. Okay, I think we're seeing that all 3 inhibitors are down.
That's going to be difficult for a defense, especially for one that doesn't have a lot of wave clear. Yes, they have the Rend with the Runans. Yes, they have a little bit with the Winds of War. That is possible, but it's a lot more difficult and a lot less efficient than what other compositions would have. But MSK, if they falter and IPT gets the jump on them, like if they get into a position for the perfect Dragon's Descent or a perfect Gnar ultimate into the hero's entrance where Hate has a lot of free time to just initially stack spears on people and then rend them to death and just have that constant damage, that could be problematic. But so far, MSK's been playing it cleanly.
This is somehow of a, let's say, huge deficit for Imperial Pro team to try and bounce back. But we might see. Who knows? Anything can happen at this point. But for MSK, they're not taking any chances. When they go for something, they make sure we will be the ones to win out of this fight.
Always has that complete set of information.
Oh, God.
I think someone's on the wrong side of the map here.
Someone is trying to put some vision, but he's in the wrong place.
Wrong time as well. Gets taken down by Exo. So that's one of their big disengage tools. Taken away from IPT. And again, this is the same spot where IPT could fall behind the red buff.
Oh, Ivalis with the ninja moves there. I knew you were going to go there. Let me just secretly recall and this brush. But without a Janna, I don't think that...
Oh, they're going to start the Baron.
Yeah, MSK will not be afraid of any more disengage coming from Imperial Pro team. 1 member down. And make that 2 members down. Because right now, Ivalis is kind of low. Trying to get away.
Oh, no, he can't cancel that.
Oh, God. I'm in the wrong place right now. Trying to get away and just not going to cut it out there.
Oh man, sometimes you'd wish you could cancel that, but once you dedicate yourself to being a hero and
you gotta die as a hero.
You have to dive in there. And once again, MSK gets the Baron buff, and really the only targets they have for this one are the inhibitor, rather the Nexus turrets. They want to end the game as cleanly as possible, not even giving IPT a chance.
Oh, to the fountain!
Oh man, that's an execution right there, but I think MSK just takes away game 3 for this one without a big team fight to end it. They just go straight to the Nexus and take away the match.
GG, well played for MSK and Imperial Pro Team. Thank you so much for showing us a great match. But let us congratulate MSK for winning our second match in the day 2 of our week 4. So 2018 Bacchus Pro Gaming Series.
A very good performance, especially from MSK.
It was a treat.
Yeah, it was definitely true that MSK was the one leading the momentum of the game. Like even when IPT had a pretty decent lead in terms of pressuring the rest of the map, it was still MSK going for their Herald, going for these turret destructions, they were in the driver's seat this entire match, even though IPT had a few times where they could try like wrestling the
trying to
the
wrestle
wheel, yeah.
for the wheel. Won't that cause an accident, Atlas? But let's check to the standings here. MSK will poop Imperial Pro Team down to the 3rd rank here, and MSK will rise up to the 2nd seed spot.
9 points versus 8 puts them at this spot. Our top 2 and top 3 have been for the playoffs here, but definitely an exciting match that we had today.
It's going to be interesting going into our, let's say, last remaining 3 weeks for the group stages, because if you get a 2-1, 2-0, that's 3 points, and that can immediately change everything. At this point, I don't think any team should be complacent with what they're at and try to at least mount a comeback. Especially, we're seeing some past performances, especially going on to our first day, Varsity X-Rage Esports getting that 2-0.
Definitely, just having all of that, all of these factors so far in the PGS make it such a competitive environment that it's been so interesting.
I just love how the fact that for, let's say, from day 1 to day 2, and right now the new format, come on, Atlas, it's really, it gives you on that edge and keeps you entertained. You're not entertained, Atlas.
Definitely, I have been entertained, even the weeks where I've been away. Coming
Good to have you back, man.
Yeah. Coming back after the few weeks.
You seem rather phased. You seem like, what is this split? What's happening right now?
Yeah, but after watching like the VODs, after coming back to cast now, I'm loving the direction that all the teams have been going.
And let's see how things will turn out in the next week for our 5th week. But before we sign off, guys, moving on to the next week, we have been the Shoutcasters. My name is Vulcan. With me is Atlas. Chista will be interviewing EXO, the winning team, in our 2nd match, MSK.
Good evening, Summoners. Kasama ko and mid laner ng MSK si EXO. First off, congratulations on a hard-fought 2-1 victory over Imperial Pro Team.
Thank you.
And yung game 1, lamang na kayo. Ang laki ng lead, 2 inhibitors. Ano nangyari doon? What gave Imperial Pro Team?
Yung game 1 kasi parang nag-overstay kami. Kasi parang kaya namin tapusin. So, mali kami ng decision doon. So, yun, napunish kami sa game 1.
Moving into game 20, nakapag-reset kayo and you were able to come out on top. And with the victory over IPT today, it means that you have locked in the 2nd seed just below TNC. And I think next week, TNC yung katapat nyo. So, anong thoughts nyo on TNC now that they are the 1st seed?
Siguro yung TNC, hindi namin sila mamaliitin. Kailangan, yung communication talaga kailangan ayusin. Doon pa kami medyo nakukulangan eh.
I mean, it can be tricky with imports, but just like I said, congratulations ulit sa 2-1 victory nyo, and we'll be back for more esports action next week. And everyone at Garena, my name is Chisto. On behalf of everyone, good night. See you next week.
Thank you. There he gets permafrost. The hero's Andres is coming in, but no one gets knocked up to the air. Light's trying to make some room with his taunt, but it's going to be Suzaku at an awkward spot. Pushes them away with a 3-man Gnar, but cannot escape. Axel takes down Suzaku, and potentially TG will clean up the fight.
Oh man, that permafrost in mid-air.
Hey, there's the hero's Andres top stage. It's the fight time. Monsoon a bit too far from Ivalis. What a waste of that heal. Looks like MSK has won this fight and now pushing back Imperial Pro Team.
That hurts.
Oh, Gary takes that hit. And now, going to the fountain.
Oh man, that's an execution right there, but I think Mineski just takes away game 3 for this one without a big team fight to end it. They just go straight to the Nexus and take away the match.
GG well played for Mineski and Imperial Pro Team. Thank you so much for showing us a great